It's so common to be drowning in student loans these days, especially for people in their 20s and in their 30s. It seems like everyone I speak to has student loans, and it's become normal. The average American graduates with tens of thousands of dollars in debt. And for some people, student loans are a stepping stone. For others, they feel like a life sentence. And it's putting off things. It's putting off home ownership, marriage. It's creating more anxiety or making people feel more behind in life. And if you're feeling this way and you have student loans, I want you to know first and foremost, you're not alone. You know, I've luckily gone ahead and been able to go and pay off my student loans in full. A lot of that has to do with living at home and working extra jobs and working on the weekends. So I was able to go ahead and pay off my student loans. However, I do remember the feeling that I had when I still had the student loans coming out of school. And it's a shitty feeling. So if that's you, if that's how you're feeling, definitely know that you're not alone. And there's a lot of other people who are in a similar situation, if not far much worse situations. So let's talk about a couple stats here. The total U.S. student loan debt is $1.7 trillion, and the average federal student loan borrower has 30 to 40,000 in student loans. Those are scary numbers. Those are big numbers. And to piggyback on top of that, monthly payments are averaging from $200 up to $600, $700, even $800 a month. And a large portion of that payment is going to interest. So you're not even making a lot of progress when you make those payments. Couple that with the fact that this interest is compounding over 10 to 20 years, depending on how long your repayment plan is. You could literally be in your 40s, 50s, and some people I think even make it to their 60s and still don't have their student loans paid off. It's a scary feeling. It's a scary thought. And it's definitely not something that I ever want to have to go ahead and deal with again. I don't plan on it, but who knows? Life can take crazy turns, and who knows what's in store for me. But I hope to never be in student loan debt again. So let's talk a little bit more about how this is actually impacting people, right? Having an overwhelming amount of debt can cause a lot of mental stress. Feeling stuck in a job that they absolutely hate, but they can't escape because they can't find a better job, and they have to make these minimum monthly payments. And student loans is just a small part of it. People have credit cards, car loans, all different types of debt. So this is just one part of a bigger picture. But another problem that this causes is it forces people to not be able to take risks and start up a business or move to a different state and pursue opportunities or passions or goals or dreams, because again, they're stuck in these jobs being forced to make these minimum monthly payments on their student loans when oftentimes they're not even using the degree that they obtained from these student loans. And it's delaying people from buying homes. It's forcing people to move back in with their parents. And a lot of people are experiencing regret when it comes to their decision to go ahead and, number one, go to college and take out student loans. But more specifically, maybe they're regretting the career path and the degree that they actually pursued. Imagine starting your adult life 40, 50, $100,000 in debt, and you're not even getting any return on that. The job market's tough right now. A lot of people are having difficulty finding jobs in their career field, so they're resorting to other options because they need to make some sort of money. So it just feels like a huge setback in life if you're starting out with $50,000 to $100,000 in student loans. So the question becomes, is college even worth it? Is it worth investing now and taking out student loans in order to achieve a higher income and a higher salary later on? Well, with many questions, the answer is it depends. If you're pursuing engineering or nursing, maybe accounting, finance, computer science, going to be a doctor and you're going to medical school, or a dentist, there's a positive return on investment there. As long as you see it through and you do achieve your career goal and get that job that you're planning on, I think those types of degrees are worth it. However, if you get something really general or something that has no use whatsoever, it's a bad investment, and I wouldn't say it's worth it. So if there's one piece of advice when it comes to choosing a major, if you're young and you're getting ready to go to college, or maybe you're a little bit older and you're thinking about going back, first and foremost, look at the return on investment. Get an idea of what the income is going to be if you do go ahead and get this degree and get a job in the field. If the return on investment isn't there, as much as you may want to study something and work in a field, at the end of the day, it's about the numbers. So if you can't justify taking student loans out when comparing it to the income that you're going to be making when you're done with school, it's not worth it. So let's talk about the ultimate question here. Are student loans really ruining lives? Or is it just delaying them? Again, it depends. Some borrowers are taking 2, 3, maybe 4 years to go ahead and pay off their student loans. They're paying it off more aggressively. In this case, especially if you are using your degree, it's definitely going to be worth it. However, in the case of someone who studies something that's non applicable, there's really no income that's going to come from this degree, or if they don't end up finishing school or they have to settle for a job that's not in their field of study, it's going to set you back. It's going to set you back years, if not decades. Those first couple decades in your working life, your 20s and your 30s, that's the time to get ahead of the game. That's the time to work extra, live below your means, save, invest, pay off debt. However, if you're paying debt for 10, 20, 30 years and you're not really making progress on it, it's going to set you back decades. And that's just not a position you want to be in. At the end of the day, life is pretty short. We're only here for, maybe 90, maybe 100 years if you're incredibly healthy and incredibly lucky. So, I mean, you only have 10 decades, right? Now, in the grand scheme of things, when we're in our normal day-to-day life, that seems like a long time. But when you start to look back and you realize how fast the past 10 years have gone, and that the next 10 years are probably going to go by even quicker, it's something to keep in mind, man. Like, do you want to waste your 20s and 30s, kind of just cruising through life, or do you want to take it as an opportunity to put yourself in a position to earn a lot of money and begin investing and building generational wealth for your family? So if you're considering going to college, or if you're feeling concerned about your financial situation, I definitely say keep your head up, but also think about, what the return on investment is going to be in the future. And there's nothing wrong with alternatives. There's nothing wrong with community college. There's nothing wrong with trades. But at the end of the day, this situation with student loans is scary. And, as I mentioned before, luckily I was in a position where I was able to go ahead and pretty much save all of my income and pay off my student loans really quickly. But there's a lot of people who are close to me that still have student loans, and I know that it hounds them mentally on a daily basis. And I feel for them because I was in that position, and I quite literally didn't spend money on anything else for about 6 months until I paid off my student loans. I was living bare bones at home with my parents, not going out, not really enjoying myself, not eating out, just because I wanted to get rid of those as soon as possible. So at the end of the day, everyone's situation is different. If you are using your degree and it's increasing your income, I would say student loans are a good investment. However, if you're just going to school to get a degree and enjoy yourself and get the quote unquote experience, I don't think it's a good investment, and I don't think anyone should do that. That's it. That's all I got for you guys today. I just wanted to kind of touch base with you in regards to student loans. I was talking to someone, a good friend of mine, the other day about their personal financial situation and the fact that they have a decent amount of student loans. They have a good, solid income, and I would say it's justified, or at least I should say the degree was justified, and taking out the student loans to obtain that degree was justified. However, they're similar to me. They think about money a lot in their personal financial situation, and that debt really does bother them, and they think about it a lot. So I felt like it was a good idea to go ahead and talk about this topic because it is serious, and I know a lot of people can relate to this. So I just wanted to hop on here and talk about it a little bit with you guys. But that's all I got for you today. Appreciate you checking in as always. If you're new here, I post every Tuesday and Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, and then on Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. I talk about all kinds of things, personal finance, life experience, really anything I feel like talking about. I just throw it over some gameplay for you guys. If you like this kind of content, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.